Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Shama Sundara Radha Shama Sundara Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gaura Nitya Jaya Gaura Nitya Jaya Gaura Nitya Jaya Gaura Nitya Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. श्री राधास श्याम सुंदर भगवान की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरुदेव की जय. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Pranam. So today, His Grace Anirudh Seva Prabhu will
Hare Krishna,
cover.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Pranam.
Dana Pranam.
So Prabhu will cover today 16th chapter, 3rd canto, from shloka number 35 to 37. Hari Bol.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Over to you, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I'll start with the Kirtan.
Sure, Prabhu.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Brajgana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Jaya Radha Vinoda Radha Jaya Radha Vinoda Radha Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Jaya Radha Ramana Radha Ramana Radha Jaya Radha Gandharva Krishna Radha Gandharva Krishna Radhe Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe Jai Jagannatha Jai Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Jagannatha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jam Shpat Param Sprachkachara Stotra Sadasman says joined by Sabai Charana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. ISKCON Samstapaka Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Param Sprachkachara Stotra Sadasman says joined by Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Ananta Koti Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा गुण श्याम कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी द्वारका धाम की जय गंगे में यमुना माई की जय तुलसी भक्ति देव की जय समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेशन बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय all glories to assemble duties all glories to assemble duties all glories to assemble duties all glories to all glories Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Gaur Premanandi Hare Krishna to all devotees for today's Bhagavatam session, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So we are going to study from the third canto, 16th chapter, verse 35 to 37. So I'll start with my prayer. Om Agnana Timrandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakatam Mahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vande Ham Shri Gurum Shriuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagraja Damsaganalagana Tanvitam Tam Saji Vamsadvaitam Savdutan Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shubhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Pancha Kalpatarupsha Kripa Sindhu Bhyavcha Patitanam Pavani Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shosadi Gaur Bhaktarunda Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiret Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So we are taking this 35th shloka. Taveva hi adhuna prapto parshada pravarau harehe diter jatara nirvishtam kashyapam teja ulvanam tav eva hi adhuna prapto parshada pravarau harehe ditir jatara nirvishtam kashyapam teja ulvanam tav eva hi adhuna prapto parshada pravarau hare iti jatara nirvishtam kashyapam teja ulbanam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Brahma continued, those two principal doorkeepers of the personality of Godhead have now entered the womb of Diti, the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni, having covered them. Krishna. So devotees can read the purport. Where is the queue?
Vasudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Here is clear proof of how a living entity coming originally from Vaikuntha Loka is engaged in material elements. The living entity takes shelter within the semen of a father, which is injected within the womb of a mother, and with the help of the mother's emulsified ovum, the living entity grows a particular type of a body. In this connection, it is to be remembered that the mind of Kashyapa Muni was not in order when he conceived the two sons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Therefore, the semen is discharged was simultaneously extremely powerful and mixed with the quality of anger. It is to be concluded that while conceiving a child, one's mind must be very sober and devotional. For this purpose, the Garbhadhana Samskara is recommended in the Vedic scriptures. If the mind of the father is not sober, the semen discharge will not be very good. Thus, the living entity wrapped in the matter produced from the father and mother will be demonic like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. The conditions of conception are to be carefully studied. This is a very great science. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very good. Yamagnantivrandasya Gnananjana Shalaka Chakshuntamana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this 16th chapter is titled "The Doorkeepers of have cursed." So that is being explained, and Brahma is actually narrating this to the demigods because they were the one who were perplexed while these two evil-minded demonic nature, Jaya Vijaya, were taking birth, were about to take birth. So that is how he's explaining. And in this also, we get the conversation of the Lord, who is also addressing to the sages. So we come across a very, very interesting conversation in this episode, and also it shows a lot of character, of the real character of the Supreme Lord, how humble, how committed, how caring he was, and how he demonstrated personally what should be the quality of a leader, how he has to take care of his subordinates, how he has to take care of somebody who is, say, his well-wisher, like in that case, the Sanat Kumaras, who are actually very exalted personalities. So, like, if a guest is coming to your house, how do you take care of them? The guest may make some, some remarks, might make some reactions which you are not expected out of it, but still, how the situation is handled by the Lord is something that we have to learn. So it's a wonderful classic example, if you can take from this episode, on the leadership qualities, especially. I love this topic, and I keep, telling even to my corporate friends that how Lord is exhibiting the characteristics of a true statesman or a true politician, and a politician not in the corrupted sense of today, but the real politician as a solid kingmaker, king, like that. So when Jaya Vijaya had stopped these four Kumaras, actually they did it out of their duty, right? And we also have to understand that they they were impersonalists, but they had come to that conclusion that this impersonalism is not going to be helping us. So that's how they had come out on their journey, and they had come out in search of the absolute truth. And they had heard about the Vaikuntha planets, and they had heard about the Lord. So they came in search, and their intentions were very pure. And we all know that, they were just at the age of 5, they took the celibacy, and they told their father Brahmaji that, we are going to remain forever like this. We want to remain, because they could easily understand what is the material nature, how it gets trapped, and all that. So like that, so it was a interaction between the two categories of devotees, and the Lord is in between. So how he is going to sort this, and then how amicably he settles this matter. So that is something which is extraordinary in this. And he says in the chapter beginning, the Lord, that these attendants of mine, Jaya and Jaya, by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. So that now he's taking himself that, they ignored me, in the sense that any Atithi or a devotee of the Lord, somebody is there, the Lord is taking that position that they also have to be respected. So because they ignored the Kumaras, he's extrapolating it and telling that they ignored me, or they ignored my orders. They did not, heed my orders. I did not want, that you to go, you for to be stopped, but they stopped. So like that, he's going one step ahead and taking the responsibility. Oh, great sages, I approve the punishment that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them. So he's approving that punishment, what they gave, that you are to be banished from this place. So that also is accepting that what you did is right, like that. And to me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me, because the doormen or my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. So this is something extraordinary, that the Lord himself is taking the responsibility of the act of his servitors. So generally, in today's circumstances, the leadership, when we talk, or in the political angle or in the administration, most of these administrators or statements are always sitting in an ivory cabin. They are never in the war place or in the battlefield. They are not there in the ground reality, facing the ground reality. So they will ask their subordinates to go and then handle a situation, and then ultimately, they're just taking some decisions which probably may not be the right one, and then they are actually not in the picture. So that is actually something which is discouraged. The Lord, as a leader, as a leadership, he has to take that position that he is to be there in the picture, and he should handle that situation. It is not that every now and then he can always be there present or take some silly matters, but that also he has to take a judicious decision, where he has to intervene, where he should not intervene. So in this case, he is accepting the responsibility, he's begging for forgiveness, and so he's showing that ultimate humility, how we have to handle, because ultimately it is a relationship which matters. So we have to maintain relationship, we have to be humble, we have to be careful, we have to the highest quality of a devotee is actually the kshama, or the forgiveness, even for not for the deeds what you did, mistake what you did, but for somebody, your junior, or somebody who is your well-wisher. If somebody else does in your congregation, but you should, if you give that forgiveness, then it will be something phenomenal. And finally, he says, a wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy or any part of the body pollutes all the skin. So like this, he's showing it by example. Yadyad Atarati Shreshtas Tatat Evetaro Janaha. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yadyad Acharati Shreshta, how a leader, Shreshta, or an important person, how he acts, the same way other people also will follow. So what you follow is very important. So like this, this happens, and then Brahma again continues that the what happened in this episode, and how they were cursed. All this is explaining to the demigods. And in between, I mean, Bhagavatam itself is such a nice, wonderful narration. There is so much of just juxtaposition of various conversations and flashbacks and things like that. Very, very intelligently it has been, super intelligently it has been broadcasted, or it has been typecast. We cannot even imagine the way this has been narrated. So one pastime, one interaction is going on, conversation, but then he goes back to another conversation or another flashback, and then that repetition is done. So like this, Brahma is explaining, and then what all happened, he's explained, and then finally he comes to that conclusion that in the 29th shloka, the Lord then said to his attendants, Jaya and Vijaya, depart this place, but fear not. All glories unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval. And just before that, the 28, the sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisances, and returned extremely delighted at learning of the divine opulence of a Vaishnava, of the Vaishnava. So here, the four sages, since they met the Lord and they had that interaction, and the Lord begged for forgiveness and all that is there, now they have taken, they've really accepted Lord as the Supreme. And now they have come to that, they came to the Bhagwan realization. Before they were impersonalists, now they found that the real Lord, and they were completely surrendered to the Lord. They were completely engulfed in the transcendental mode. And now they are paying obeisances and extremely delighted at learning divine opulence of a Vaishnava. So what qualities of a Vaishnavas are required? Krishnarajas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita gives the 26 qualities of a devotee. There are those 26 qualities. I mean, devotees can go through that, and it is very, very important how we behave. And now he says that but he says he's now we finished with the he finished interaction with the four Kumaras, and he actually glorified them and then begged forgiveness. But on the other side, Jaya Vijaya, actually it was of no fault of theirs. They actually did their duty by stopping. But still, they were taken on the wrong path. What Acharya says is that they could not identify the elevated position of these four Kumaras, and they should have actually inquired with the four Kumaras, and they should have let in, but they didn't do. So there are some lapse of their duty, like this. Some some these reasons are also being given. And anyway, this happened, and then now he is also backing those Jaya and Vijaya, Lord. He's not leaving them left in the lurch. Oh, you did a mistake or you committed something, and then he's not. So that is why this classic example, actually, if we read the entire chapter, we come to know how entirely the conversation has been, Lord has maintained the equanimity between the two parties. And now he's telling that you are now departing the place. Please don't fear. All glories unto you. You will be completely remembered of your glories. Whatever you do there, you will be remembered. And you are, why? Because that has come later. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, whatever the curse the Sanat Kumaras gave, I could nullify, but I'm not doing so. On the contrary, it is my approval. So again, Lord is telling that whatever happens for the good. Adadella volita aitu. As Purandaradasa says in his first of the kirtans, that whatever happened, that it is for the good, for a good act to come in future. And then ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಳಿತಾ ಆಯ್ತು. ನಮ್ಮ ಶ್ರೀಧರನ ಸೇವೆಗೆ ಸಾಧನ ಸಂಪತ್ತಾಯಿತು. So whatever. Hello.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I just continued. Sorry, Prabhuji.
Sadhana sampattu. So even whatever when you're doing something divine activity, especially on the bhakti platform, bhakti yoga, it's not of any waste. Everything will get converted into your spiritual wealth. So that sadhana, whatever you're doing, either by forcefulness or by fear, or by for somebody, or for some material bonds, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're trying to do, taking the holy name and doing engaged in spiritual activity, will actually become your spiritual wealth. So that's what even Bhagavatam also says, that sakama akama sarva kama va moksha kama udarati tivrena bhakti yogana Yajeta Purusham Param. So there, your bhakti activity may be akama. It could be without desires. Without desires in the sense material desires. Sakama, it could be with material desires. You might be, asking for so many of your material desires to be fulfilled. Moksha, kama udardihi. You might be requesting for a liberation. You might be, wanting to merge with the Supreme Lord in the Brahman effulgence. So, what actually is liberation is actually that it's a cessation of your material activity, cessation of enjoyment of senses. This is what impersonalist would hanker for. He thinks that just by cessation of my senses and cessation of any of this enjoyment, I am going to reduce my papa. I'm not going to get attached to the. I'm not going to get captivated or engulfed in this sinful activities. So that is enough. So then I'll remain in the mode of goodness. So this is what they will be hankering, and they want to merge with the Supreme Lord. Because one more problem with the impersonalist is that Mayavadi is that they are under the false impression that they and the Supreme Lord are of the same or of the same level. So that is the biggest mistake they do. Actually, they don't understand, come to the conclusion that Paramatma is the super soul, the Vibhu, and the Atma is the Anu or the atom. But they come to a conclusion, false understanding, that I and Narayana, I and Supreme Lord are the same. So that's why Mayavadis have that greeting when they call out. They call out Narayana, and then they call in that same name. So this way they make a big offense to the Lord, his position, and they get they have to suffer for those consequences. So in this way, I was talking about forgot what I was where I was. He was talking about the Lord was telling about how he was supporting Jaya Vijaya, and how he said that you can proceed. It has my approval. It's okay. Even if you're going to the material world, it's not an issue. I'll be taking care. In fact, in an earlier purport, Prabhupada tells that a devotee of the Lord may come to the material world. He would be enjoying the spiritual world. He might be, for some reason, he might come to the material world. So it does not mean that he is fallen down. There is always the Lord's grace, or it's the intention of the Lord. Lord willed that he has to come to the material world. He can send him. So on the general understanding, we always come to the conclusion that the moment you are in the material world, you're actually contaminated. You have done some mistake. You've committed some offenses. So that's why now we have come to this material world to suffer. But in another purport, Prabhupada clearly says that for some special categories of devotees, even though they come to the material world, it is not due to their bad, sinful reaction or anything, but it is the grace of the Lord, and the Lord will protect those devotees. So similarly, the situation has happened to the Jaya and Vijaya. Like, for example, we see so many acharyas who came in ISKCON itself. It could be many of these acharyas, many of the devotees who came in our parampara. So does it mean that they were all, they all had some, material afflictions, and that's why they had to come to suffer here? No, they're actually from the spiritual world, but they just came to uplift the downtrodden, uplift the devotees of the Lord. So that is the reason. And whenever they come to the material world, they're actually not bounded by these three modes of material nature. They will not become a Baddha Jivi. In fact, they'll be actually the Nitya Siddhas. They're actually Nitya Siddhas. They're eternally liberated. But just for the purpose of rendering some service to the Supreme Lord, they come here to the material world, do their activity, do their preaching, convert the devotees, transform the devotees, and then go back to the Godhead. So like this, we have to understand it's all ultimately the supreme will of the Lord, and that is being highlighted in the previous verses also. I think 26 is a very classic, 26 shloka. The Lord replied, "O Brahmanas, know that the punishment you inflicted on them was originally ordained by me." So it's Lord's intention. He wanted that to happen. And therefore they will fall to a birth in a demoniac family. But they will be firmly united with me in thought through mental concentration, intensified by anger, and they will return to my presence shortly. So like this, it's actually ultimately, if you see, it's a Lord's Leela. Lord wanted that to happen. He wanted, when the Lord wants to enjoy the Veera Rasa, or the heroic Rasa, where he want to display his heroism, he want to fight with an enemy. So he has to create an enemy, right? Because in the spiritual world, he cannot afford to have any enemy, because there are no vices in spiritual world. The bad influences of material modes are not there. It's always Anandambudi Vardhanam. Always it is a place of peace, bliss, and happiness, and all of them devotees are engaged in Vaikunta, in the service of the Lord. So where is the question of any fight or any envy? Nothing. But the Lord, at his own, in his own accord, if he wants to enjoy that rasa of heroism, he actually creates such a situation, and then he will send those devotees back to the earth, and then he will perform that heroic, and then he will satisfy himself, and then also gives satisfaction to the devotees. So this way he gives. So in this, Prabhupada gives the very nice. Of course, all this has been studied, but I'm just giving this background so we can understand how wonderfully this episode has been highlighted by the Lord, and what are the lessons that we can take from this episode. And even, for example, so many management principles are given by the Lord. Of course, all these are hidden. Only today's management gurus or anybody reads the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's purport, completely they'll be baffled and they'll simply accept, yes, this is the real knowledge that we need to get. So here he says, without the Lord's sanction, nothing can happen. It is to be understood that there was a plan in the cursing of the Lord's devotees in Vaikunta, and his plan is explained by many stalwart authorities. The Lord sometimes desires to fight. The fighting spirit also exists in the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how could fighting be manifested at all? Because the Lord is the source of everything, anger and fighting are also inherent in his personality. When he desires to fight with someone, he has to find an enemy. But in Vaikuntha world, there is no enemy, because everyone is engaged fully in his service. Therefore, he sometimes comes to the material world as an incarnation in order to manifest his fighting spirit. So this is the clear explanation. And finally, one more very, very important aspect that we need to understand. In the conclusion, Prabhupada gives this, so many times we get doubts among the devotees also. So that Prabhupada is getting clarified here. After finishing their mock fighting, both the devotee and the Lord are again associated in the spiritual planets. That is very explicitly explained here. Now, here the very catchword, a very important sentence. The conclusion is that no one falls from the spiritual world or Vaikuntha planet, for it is the eternal abode. But sometimes, as the Lord desires, devotees come into this material world as preachers or as atheists. So this is what I was talking about, how spiritual personalities, gurus today, they are all coming. Prabhupada himself had to come. Why? He had to take this material body. Why? Just as to become a preacher, just to start this, revive this bhakti culture, and to give even millions and millions of people. He had to elevate to that next platform. So that's why he came. So in each case, we must understand that there is a plan of the Lord. Lord Buddha, for example, was an incarnation, yet he preached atheism. There is no God. But actually, there was a plan behind this, as explained in the Bhagavatam. So we cannot. We always should come to the conclusion that it is out of it is not out of a fall down that we are here. That thing cannot happen unless it is ordained by the Lord. But generally, in our own case, we are actually been trying millions and millions of lifetimes in the material world itself, and we are now come to this practice of bhakti yoga, and now we are trying to make some further more attempts. Maybe we had done our attempts halfway through in the previous lifetimes. Now we are trying to revive that, and then taking from where we had left. That's why in Gita also Krishna gives that very important shloka, prapta punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvata sama suchinam shrimatem gehe yogo brashta abhijayate. So the unsuccessful yogi, after many lifetimes, he will come to that after enjoying in different planets, he'll come to this material world, but he'll be taking a birth in a very pious family, Suchinam, Srimatam, very rich family. Gehe is the family. And why? Because he had actually yoga brashta, because he had not fulfilled his yoga practice, bhakti yoga. Now he has, because something balance left was there, so he gets a chance to get birth in a very rich family, or in a pious family, so that he can continue and then he can go back to Godhead. So this is actually a facility given by the Lord. So like that, we have to consider ourselves very lucky and fortunate to have taken birth, and then maybe in a devotive family, and then getting associated with ISKCON. And now that we have come to this platform, now we are practicing our sadhana bhakti. So this is very important to understand that we are in this situation, and we have to thank Lord, these devotees for his mercy. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So now this shloka, the 35th shloka, is now Lord Brahma continued. These two principal doorkeepers of the personality of God have now entered the womb of Diti, the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni, having covered them. So now the previous shloka talked about that both the Jaya Vijaya fell from the Lord's abode. The Vaikuntha, great roar of disappointment, rose among all demigods who were sitting in their splendid airplanes. So now they have come down to the material world. Now here in this, we understand how they have taken birth and what is the principle that has happened. So now that they have come, they have to enter into a womb. So now the womb is prepared, it's ready. That is in the form of Mother Diti. And we studied earlier also how Diti had that a very lusty desire in the evening time, which is not a very auspicious time. And she had to be in union with Kashyapa Muni. And because that the time was not an auspicious one, and they had their union, and because of that, this demonic personality had to take birth, and that is the preparation which has happened. The prelude is the incident of this with Sanat Kumaras, and now they have come. And here Prabhupada explains that this is a clear proof of how living entity coming originally from Vaikuntha Loka is engaged in material elements. The living entity takes shelter within the semen of the father and injected in the womb, and grows a particular type of body. So now the atom has come in, and it is entered into the womb of the mother, and the baby grows. So since that semen he discharged simultaneously was extremely powerful and mixed with the quality of anger, so because of that nature, the same, whatever as you sow, as you reap. Correct? There is a saying, whatever we do, we action and reaction are evident in that. So because in the anger, these two gentlemen had to come, and they also continued their anger, and their nature sadasat yoni sujanmasu. So the nature of that was of asat, or anger, or they were bound to do some demonic activity, and that is how Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu came into existence. So Prabhupada further says, this we concluded that while conceiving a child's one mind must be very sober and devotional. For this purpose, Garbhadana Samskara recommended in the Vedic scriptures. If the mind of the father is not sober, semen discharge will not be very good. Thus, the living entity will be trapped in matter, and further demonic children will be born. So like this, the real science, the science of birth, the science of actually the of the jiva is being explained here. And as Prabhupada rightly says that if you are doing the samskara, then the right samskaras at the right time, then we are taken care. And that's what Vedic scripture actually prescribes. But at the time of conceiving, if one's mind is corrupted, contaminated, or he is not actually in the devoted, but it's just coming in union only for some sense enjoyment, then they will have very bad result. The child also, which is going to be born, will also have those kind of negative attitudes. And what to speak of at the time of conceiving? Even after the conceiving, when the child, the Atma is in the mother's womb for about 9 months, even that time also is very, very important. Whatever the mother desires, or whatever mother hears, whatever mother thinks, whatever mother eats, whatever mother smells, all these things will be having an impact on the child. So that's why the carrying mother should be careful to be associated in the mode of goodness, and in devotees association. So then even the child will get that. I mean, we get the classic example of Prahlad himself when he was in the womb of his mother Kayadu, and when Hiranyakashipu had actually gone to the penance, to do the penance in the forest. So then she was alone in the palace, and that time Narad Muni took an advantage to come to Kayadu and preach her, and he gave her the entire Bhagavatam. The spiritual science was given by Narad Muni to Kayadu, because Kayadu, he knew that what is going to happen as per the ordained by the Lord, that Prahlad had to be taking birth in a demonic family. And Prahlad, because he was listening all this, and he was hearing, grasping all these things, the Harikatha, while being in the womb of his mother, he could actually become a very wonderful child. So that's a classic example. There's so many instances where we find that children, devotees children, how they even in a very early age, they start reciting shlokas, they start reciting some mantras, and they're attracted to spiritual life. Why? Because the parents have adopted that, the mother had adopted that. So this way, it is very important that we do these samskaras. So coming to these samskaras, there are actually 16 samskaras which our shastras prescribe. So I'll just run through that for information, what all we need to do, and how these things are most important in our life. The sanskara means it's the culture or the cult what you're going to follow, which is going to help you. The first one actually for a person is actually the garbhadhana. So when the husband wife unite, at that time itself they should do this garbhadhana. Garbhadhana is actually the gifting of the womb in typical understanding. Basically that before conception itself, the husband wife come to a very serene atmosphere, and then of their the minds are not agitated. They are all in a devotional mode, very serene atmosphere. And then the main purpose of a family life, or the husband wife getting married is what? To extend their lineage, and to extend their lineage so that their children, the prodigy, the children who are coming, are all of good character or of good nature. They all become devotees. That is the main idea. That is how the progeny is to be made. And if that has to be done, you have to take the shelter of the Lord. You have to start this with the Garbhadhana Samskara. Even in ISKCON, Prabhupada insisted that the devotees, before they unite, they have to chant for about 50 rounds continuously. And then they have to follow certain rules and regulations for chanting of the holy name. Some regulative principles also, they have to be very strict. And then they have to unite, and then the conception should happen. Only that time, when you're in that frame of mind, completely in spiritual charged mind, then you will get a very good devotee child. So with that, our society will grow. So this is what Prabhupada had insisted, and many devotees during Prabhupada time itself had followed this Garbhadhana. And now only because ISKCON has come, Prabhupada has come, we are understanding this. Otherwise, we never knew about these concepts. Completely, we are dumb. We didn't have that. All of us, our parents, how we are born, we don't know. But luckily, by the grace of Prabhupada and devotees, we actually come to that platform of spiritual life, and so that we should be thankful to the Lord. So this is the first principle, that Garbhadhana is very important. Now today, almost all the ISKCON devotees who are initiated devotees, they are advised, the gurus, the spiritual masters in our parampara, they all always advise these devotees that you have to do the garbhadana and then beget a child. So it's very, very mandatory that they do. And we have seen the result also, where so many young couples and the kind of children they have got, the phenomenal, many of them are able to recite Bhagavad Gita, they're able to do the chanting. So the result is there. We can see in front of our eyes how just by practicing this, they get the mercy of the Lord, and they all become very fantastic individuals, devotees. Then the Pumsavana is to secure the birth. It's a during third month of pregnancy, since the fetus start moving, so they want to give the protection. So the Shastra says that we have to do this Pumsavana, where the fetus is actually protected, and it is the prayers and all these are offered to the Lord on behalf of the mother and the child. Then the Simantonayana, which is actually the parting of the hair, which is the 5th or 7th month, which is done, where this Simantonayana in the center of the Mataji, the hairs are split, and the Chanda, the mother and the child. So this way, it's a very scientific process, and also the longevity and health of the child is maintained by doing this samskara. So these are all very, very looks very, very very simple acts, but we actually don't know the science. Actually, we are half learned about it, but in the previous times they were all doing it religiously. Now today, most people don't know about what exactly needs to be done. So there is a very scientific way of doing all these things, all for the care and protection of the child and the mother. Then we have the Jata Karma. Again, just before the baby is born, or the umbilical cord has to be cut. So that time also, it has to be the father will do this Jata Karma, so that the child is well, it is coming into the material world in a very most auspicious way. So like this, so this is done by the father. Then we have the Namakarna, the naming of the child, by the 5th month or so. Actually first month itself, but many people do it in 3rd month also because of the child's condition and all that. And then after the naming ceremony, you have the Nishkramana, which is actually taking the baby out into the sun. So this is also there, maybe in the 2nd month, 3rd month or 4th month, the baby is taken. Of course, those days, earlier days, babies were being born in the homes itself, but now it's all hospital and things like that. So baby would have got this Nishkramana very early, seeing the sun, because it's already out, meeting. But today also the devotees do follow. They will take the baby to the temple. We see that many devotees bring the baby to the temple in the 3rd month or so, and then take the darshan of the Lord and prasadam of the Lord. Of course, the prasadam, the grains and all will come in the 6th month, Annaprashna, which is actually the 7th samskara. So this is done because till the time baby is being fed only the milk, and now the solid food is being given. So that is the Annaprashna. Then Chuda Karma, the hairs are cut for the child after say 1 year or so, and because the initial hairs are not not so conducive, because it will have a lot of chemicals and reactions, because as it was in the body of the mother. So now that old things has to go off. So the old nails, the old nails also from my hand and legs nails, and the hairs are removed and cleansed up, and now the baby start getting new hairs, and which is going to be something very strong and neat and clean. Then the piercing of lobes, the Karna Veda, and this piercing of the lobe also has a lot of acupuncture, because it's a pressure point, the earlobes, and these earlobes are the actually the pressure points where intellect can grow, because the brain is growing, and the brain needs certain pressure points, so that those nerves will also get activated, and because of that, the child's immunity, child's intelligence, so all these things will actually get activated. So that's why the piercing of the earlobes is done at the bottom, and then even for the boys, girls, everybody, they also put the the what you call the earring is there, and if the as long as the earring is there and the touch with the pressure point is there, the child is actually benefited. But of course, now today most people don't do that, or if they do, also the child, because of the social stigma and all that, they remove the earring, and then child loses all that benefit. Actually, this is very important. So it's care of the body, mind, and soul. Then the Vidyaramba, which is the 10th activity, the learning of the all the month of the alphabets. So the child can go for a school, can get educated. Then the Upanayana, the holy thread, where the Gayatri mantra is given to the child, and actually Guru is introduced. But in the traditional form of Upanayana, it is actually the father who gives the mantra. The father, the birth-giving father, he gives the mantra of Gayatri mantra. But this Upanayana or this Gayatri mantra is actually the beginning for the child. This cannot be considered as a diksha. And if for the child, as it grows, then it goes to the Gurukul, and it goes studies, and then it gets a teacher, and that teacher, the Guru, is actually, at that time, it is a spiritual birth. So when he takes the diksha, it is actually the spiritual birth, and through the spiritual birth, the person or the child or the youth, he can progress in his spiritual life. So, but the first Upanayanam is only given by the father, which is only by the father, which is actually an introduction for the child, so that it can go to the next stage of studying of the Veda. The Praishartha is the studying of the Veda, which is the 12th samskara. And then Keshanta, again here, as the child comes to the puberty, and the hairs are cut, the shaved. And similarly for the girl, as she comes to the puberty, there is a shastra that is done. So Ritu Shuddhi. So this is the 13th samskara. 14th is actually Samavartana, which is actually graduation for the child. After he studies, he finishes his studies from the Gurukul. Then the 15th is Vivaha, the marriage, and 16th is Antyeshti. Antyeshti is the funeral of the person. So like this, all these are scientifically given in our shastras, and the more we inculcate that in our devotees, in our congregation, it will be having a very, very fantastic benefit.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is
So
it
we'll go to
possible?
the shloka 36.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can we get this in the group, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Prabhu, which one is the 13th one, Prabhu? Please repeat, no, Prabhu.
13th is actually I think Kesha.
After Prashata, learning Vedas, start learning Vedas.
13th is Keshanta Ritu Shuddhi.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Cutting of the hair, or is a puberty. So this is the 13th. And 14th
Prabhu,
is actually
Keshanta means removing hair, no, Prabhu. That's no, Prabhu. Keshanta.
That is. That is when he comes off, when he touches the teens, that time when they're shaved of their, hairs on the face.
Okay.
Like that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you send this in the group, Prabhuji, so that we all have a clear picture?
Okay.
With the meaning, Prabhuji, please.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, we'll go to the shloka 36. Yeah, devotee can read, and in the meantime, I'll send it. I'll try to send it. Or I'll send it to Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Later.
Okay, Prabhu. Channa Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, 16 shloka in the translation, and somebody can read the purport.
Sudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
तयोरसय असुरयोरद्य तेजसायमयोर्दिवः आक्षिप्तं तेज एतर्हि भगवांस्तत्विधि सति. Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. It is the prowess of these twin asuras, demons, that has disturbed you, for it has minimized your path. There is no remedy within my path, however, for it is the Lord Himself who desires to do all this. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anusuya Mataji Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Radhan Pranam.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Although
Jai.
Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, formerly Jaya and Vijaya, became asuras, the demigods of this material world could not control them. And therefore, Lord Brahma said that neither he nor all the demigods could counteract the disturbance they created. They came within the material world. Yes, Prabhuji.
No, the demigods of the material world could not control them. I think you missed one line.
Yeah, sorry, Prabhuji. They came within the material world by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He alone could counteract such disturbances. In other words, although Jaya and Vijaya assumed the bodies of asuras, they remained more powerful than anyone, thus proving that the Supreme Personality of Godhead desired to fight because the fighting spirit is also within Him. He is the original in everything, but when he desires to fight, he must fight with a devotee. Therefore, by his desire only were Jaya and Vijaya cursed by the Kumaras. The Lord ordered the gatekeepers to go down to the material world to become his enemies so that he could fight with them and his fighting desires would be satisfied by the service of his personal devotees. Brahma showed the demigods that the situation created by the darkness for which they were disturbed was the desire of the Supreme Lord. He wanted to show that even though these two attendants were coming in the forms of demons, they were very powerful, greater than the demigods, who could not control them. No one can surpass the acts of the Supreme Lord. The demigods were also advised not to try to counteract this instant because it was ordered by the Lord. Similarly, anyone who is ordered by the Lord to perform some action in this material world, especially preaching His glories, cannot be counteracted by anyone. The will of the Lord is executed under all circumstances. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So now, yeah. So as we saw, Brahma is further explaining that the prowess, it is the prowess of these two twin asuras that has disturbed you, for it has minimized your power. So he's addressing to the demigods. Actually, there is no divinity within my power, however, for the Lord Himself. So he's telling that whatever the Lord desires will happen, and I don't have any say in this. Nor it can, you can do anything. Demigods, although you people seem to be powerful, you have certain powers, but you also cannot check this. So like that, he's telling the demigods of this material world could not control them. Therefore, Lord Brahma said that neither he nor demigods could counteract the disturbance. Whatever Lord desires, the same thing will happen. And Lord desired that they had to come material world and fight with him. So the same thing had been ordained, and this happened. So here, what Prabhupada is highlighting, in the second para, he says that he wanted to show that even though these two attendants were coming in the form of demons, they were very powerful, greater than the demigods, who could not control them. No one can surpass the acts of the Supreme Lord. So, it appeared that these gentlemen were actually greater. Actually, they came as an enemy of the Lord, but they were more powerful. As asuras, they are powerful than the demigods. So, why? Because it is again the will of the sweet will of the Lord. And no one can question that. Of course, it's a part of the Leela, and there is so much of learning this. and this happened. And finally, Prabhupada comes to this make this statement that anyone who is ordered by the Lord to perform some action in this material world, especially preaching his glories, cannot be contracted by anyone. The will of the Lord is executed. They cannot be contracted, they cannot be checked, despite all the difficulties, or probably Prabhupada is giving his own example or his own situation where he had to face a lot of difficulty. But then if he is having the grace of Lord Krishna, nothing can stop. So that he's saying that the will of the Lord is executed under all circumstances. So probably he's taking his own experience, how he had to struggle in this before starting ISKCON, and how he's actually taking a word of gratitude to the Lord that he helped Prabhupada all the way, and set up this wonderful organization, and which is helping millions and millions of devotees. So a devotee of the Lord, in another part of Bhagavatam, it says that even if the devotee of the Lord is put into a hellish condition, he will
Can't hear Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah. 37, you can see.
Vaishali Mataji? Or Sindhu Mataji, you can read.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, pranam.
Okay.
I think it's a big purport, a little big purport. So if 2-3 devotees are there, they can share it.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
May I, Mataji?
May I read,
Yeah,
Mataji?
please, Mataji. Yeah, Vaishali Mataji will read Mataji, and then Sindhu Mataji can read translation.
Yes. विश्वस्य स्थितिलयो भवेत् भवे हेतुतराद्या योगेश्वरैरपि दुरत्यै योगमायः क्षेमं विद्यास्यति स नो भगवान् स्तत्रास्मदीय दिमृषेण कियानिहार्थः.
Sindhu Mataji, translation.
Translation by Pranam Prabhuji. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear sons, the Lord is the controller of the three modes of nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yoga Maya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Hare Krishna.
Prashanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. When something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not be disturbed by it, even if it appears to be a reverse according to one's calculations. For example, sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed, or sometimes he is put into difficulty, just as Haridasa Thakura was. He was a great devotee who came into this material world to execute the will of the Lord by preaching the Lord's glories. But Haridasa was punished at the hands of the Qazi by being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified and Prahlad Maharaj was put through so many tribulations. The Pandavas, who were direct friends of Krishna, lost their kingdom, their wife was insulted, and they had to undergo many severe tribulations. Seeing all these rivers affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters, there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is that a devotee is never disturbed by such reverses. He accepts even reverse conditions as the grace of the Lord. One who continues to serve the Lord even in reverse conditions is assured that he will go back to Godhead, back to the Vaikuntha planets. Lord Brahma assured the demigods that there was no use in talking. Sorry, Prabhuji. Lord
Yeah.
Brahma assured the demigods that there was no use in talking about how the disturbing situation of darkness was taking place, since the actual fact was that it was ordered by the Supreme Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee. It was possible for him to understand the plan of the Lord. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the third canto, 16th chapter of the Shrimad Bhagavatam, entitled the two doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jaya and Vijay, cursed by the sages. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Dharatram. Yeah. So finally, Brahmaji is concluding here, and he's telling that he is the controller, Lord. Whatever he does, whatever he desires, same thing will happen. We are not in any way, able to match his prowess, and whatever is his creative power of Yogamaya, that nobody can understand how he plays with that Yogamaya, and that personality of Godhead will alone come to a rescue. Even if he puts us into some difficulty, ultimately he is only going to give the solution. Like we cannot see a lock maker making a lock without the key. Correct? He makes a lock, the key is also there. The lock is there, the problems are there, the material world is there. It's a big creation, but the solutions of the material world also is given by the Lord. It's only that we have to get hold of the key, and we should know where the key is, how to use it, and then use the key for the right time or the right place, and then we get the problem solved. So that way, and then finally he's telling what purpose, what we can do deliberating about Lord's, how if we keep on deliberating about him, we cannot understand. What he's telling is that when these two gentlemen born, Jaya and Vijaya, the whole place was like, actually they were feeling the portents of very devastation, darkness, very omens, bad signs were there. So the demigods were afraid, and that's why he's telling, don't be afraid. Whatever Lord is doing, he will definitely take care. As long as we remain truthful to the Lord, we remain subservient to the Lord. There might be some difficulty, but don't worry. You continue your prayers, and then Lord will definitely. If he is creating a problem, it does not mean that he will not give a solution. Solution will already be there. Solution will be reachable. It will be attained to those who are subservient to him. If somebody is against the Lord, they will not get the mercy. So ultimately, that's what he's telling. And Prabhupada also gives that how in our spiritual life also, that so many things, reverses we may have to see. We may think, oh, we wanted this, we want to get this done in this way. We want this kind of opulence, we want this kind of a promotion, or we want this kind of a benefit. So many things we anticipate, but everything may not be fulfilled. It all depends again according to our prarabdha karma, and we might get some, and some we may, most of the things we may not get in the material world also. But just because that reverse has happened, we should not come to the conclusion that no, Lord is not helping. Lord will be there. If something is happening, it is according to the clear plan of the Lord. He will be. He knows. The Lord knows what is meant for me, and then he will sometimes he'll put into us into difficulty. But Prabhupada also says that powerful preacher is killed or sometimes put into difficulty, like Haridas Thakur. So Prabhupada is giving the example of Haridas Thakur, how he was beaten because he was a Mohammedan by birth, but he was chanting the holy name. And the time the Mohammedan rule, the rule of the Mohammedans, the Hussein Shah and all were there. They actually did not want the chanting of the holy names, a Hindu or the Indian Lord Krishna's holy names to be practiced. So they were they had completely punished him. But despite all that, he continued chanting. And then when he was beaten at those marketplaces, Lord actually came and protected him. So he actually did not feel the pain. So like that, Jesus was crucified. Prahlad Maharaj, we know how Hiranyakashipu did so much of efforts to kill him. But despite all that, every time he was saved. Somehow he could come out. He was put into fire. He was thrown from the mountains. At every point of time, Prahlad was protected. So like that, Pandavas were protected. So one should simply understand. I mean, he says, Prabhupada says, seeing all these reverse affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters, there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And devotee will always be protected. So like that, he gives this assurance. And similarly, how Brahma is giving, Prabhupada also tells this. And I just want to, yeah, I think time is almost up, I think. 10:40. if I had to, there is actually one incident of, I'll just tell in brief how our one of our Vartamana Guru was also saved. Now that we have all heard about Radhana Swami Maharaj, right? We all have heard about his past and how he also, American youth in the 70s, he came to India hitchhiking all the way from US. He came to through Europe, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then landed in India. And then he didn't have, he wanted to be in a spiritual association. He was looking for a guru. Finally, he came to Mathura and he came to Vrindavan. Then he got association of so many devotees, so many Babas were there, so many different sampradayas were there. And finally, he got an association of Prabhupada also. And because he was a foreigner those days, they had to get registered from the Ministry of Interior, Foreign Affairs. You know, they had a 90 days visa or something. After that, they had to go and renew, and they had to give their financial position that they can stay back. So all these things were there. And somehow, Radhana Swami Maharaj, because he got, he came into the spiritual association, he was so engrossed, he never had a chance to go to Delhi, because those days going to Delhi, and from a village like Vrindavan, it was so difficult because he was so much absorbed in spiritual activity. He was sitting continuously and then chanting the holy name. He was going to the holy places, associating with the devotees, and then he was completely engrossed. He totally forgot about it. But it so happened that his visa had actually lapsed. And then people started, the police started coming and then chasing him. And they came to know that, Radhana Swami Maharaj is here. That time his name was Slavian, Robert Slavian, something, I don't remember now. So they were searching for him. And most people were there. Some people were protecting him. And some people were telling where he was. And the villagers in Vrindavan also, the devotees of the Lord wanted to protect him. And then they used to misguide the police. And police, they came, so many people came, Mufti. Finally, they caught hold of him and they took him. Then, even while going in the bus also, somehow Maharaj, he feigned ignorance. He said he wanted to go for urinals, and the bus stopped. He ran away. He escaped from the police. That was a big hangama. The whole town was, filled with this rumor. And Maharaj was, in escape. He was in hidden. He was escaping, and then he was hiding somewhere. And again, the police started intensifying. See, just imagine the situation. He's a foreigner. If he's caught, he'll be put into jail, and then so much of difficulties are there. But he was always, hopeful that one day some problem will be solved. And one fine day, that when he was in his undercover, that early morning he was bitten by a dog. I don't know whether it's a dog or a wolf, but because in Mayapur and in those villages in North India, you have a lot of wolves, jackals, and he was bitten. So then he had to go to the doctor. And even to go to the doctor, it was scary because somebody identifies him and then they will, because he was in hiding. So he was a little scared. He covered himself and then he went to the doctor. Those days, they had to take 13 tetanus injection. One injection used to be like 6 inches long and such a heavy needle, the syringe. And then he had to face a lot of difficulty. And every day he had to go because he had to take the tetanus injection. The doctor had said that if you don't take this, you'll die. So he had given this warning. But he had to escape the police. At the same time, he has to come to the doctor. He came, he did that also. And with lot.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Can't hear Prabhuji.
That I'm actually sick. I'm not well. I had this tetanus, and I cannot come. So he went to then he begged the police, and one of the police inspector was so compassionate to us because he's a devotee after all, and ISKCON was gaining importance. So he allowed him that you go to the doctor and get a medical certificate. So he went to the government doctor, got the certificate, and his visa was extended. So again, he continued staying here. So just imagine if you are in our situation or in difficult situation, how we'll be cribbing, how we'll be thinking, we'll be cursing the Lord. Oh my God, you made me suffer tetanus, my health is gone, like that. But Maharaj took it as in a right spirit, and something bad happened, but that bad actually protected him. He extended his visa. The police didn't catch him. everything went on well. And then he got association, he got the darshan of Prabhupada, and then he surrendered to him. After that, because once he came to the protection of Prabhupada, then all the ministry people, everybody were known to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, okay, this is nothing, I can do it for you. So like this, he actually come out of it. So like this, it's a classic example, and a great devotee is how Lord protects as long as you stay in their shelter. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, he has written a book about his autobiography.
Anti-rabies injections.
Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he has written a book about this entire autobiography, Prabhuji. Book.
Yes, yes, that is right.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, those 13 injections are rabies injections.
Yeah, rabies. Yeah, rabies. Or,
rabies.
Of course, it's all a part of that, because rabbit is typically a dog bite. But since it was a, we don't know whether it's a dog or a wolf or so much, because in the dark, so he had to take some extra precautions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare.
Prabhuji, I want one
Yes.
small, Prabhuji, class is over, Prabhuji. I want one clarification.
Yeah, I've just completed.
Okay, I want one clarification at your end, Prabhuji. The thing is, after reading this Bhagavatam, we came to know that Supreme Lord is Anu, and else Virat also. Is it not, Prabhuji? If
Supreme Lord is not. Supreme Lord is
Virat. Is supreme.
Yeah.
So we can't visualize even. We are the limited knowledge people, We are the very, very limited knowledge persons. So if we see anything else in little form, we will assume that this is all. It is all right. It is all right. So we won't be giving much importance to that. Am I right, Prabhuji? If we visualize in a big form, if we visualize anything in a big form, we used to respect it.
That we believe. That's what you're saying. A small form will not believe.
Prabhu, your voice is breaking.
Hare, now it's okay.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Please, please.
So what is your question, Prabhu?
Question is this: if we the limited persons, we are small. Our intelligence is so small.
Yes.
So if we see anything else a little bit, we will say that it is all right. Of course, it is. If we visualize in a better manner, big manner, then we used to say we used to astonish. Oh, how bruhat it is! How great it is!
Yeah.
Is it not, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
in this way, in Bhagavata, we came to know that Supreme Lord is smaller in the smallest, and is the bigger in Bruhat also.
Yes.
So if we, because by reading this scripture, if God is Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes, is it not?
Yes.
Then how in our material life, it is to be visualized the Supreme Lord so Bruhat, and how he is, how we have to influence the Supreme Lord. So we have to practice in our day. If by seeing any person, anything else, we have to visualize this is the creature of the Supreme Lord. This is being happened by the Supreme Lord only. So how we have to visualize in our daily life.
No, that is what actually the Lord has created in such a way. He is bigger than the biggest, smaller than the smallest. Okay, he's there residing in every atom. At the same time, he's also having his bigger form. I mean, that is how he is created. Now, just because he is the smallest of the small does not mean that we can ignore his. It's actually his greatest power, his potential. He's showing his potential by being that. When he had to protect Parikshit Maharaj, he went into the womb and protected Maharaj Parikshit from the Brahmastra. But he became the smaller of the smallest. When he went to go in the area of the door.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, your voice is totally breaking.
So he had to become the smaller of the smallest. So like that, that is the lots energy. So we have to accept that. And because it's smaller,
Voice is breaking, Prabhuji.
Voice is breaking. Prabhuji, Prabhuji, if you don't mind. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you can try switching off your
Mata.
camera.
Yeah.
Maybe that will work.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, it is already time 10:50. So it is better I request your kind self in any other class. Definitely, I used to attend the class. When your kind self was free enough, then you please explain me. Now it is already time 50.
What is the explanation? We already said no. We have to accept that fact.
Not that
he can be smaller of the smallest.
We have to how we have to visualize in our personal life.
No, that's why he gave so many instances, many leelas he did, where
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, how we
see when Varahadev appearance, when Varahadev he appeared,
You're breaking again, Prabhuji.
Voice is breaking, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, maybe it is that Krishnamurti Prabhu is asking.
I will. Yeah.
How we can, how we should see Prabhuji, like, how can we see the Lord smaller than the smallest in our daily life? Is it not, Prabhuji?
Yes, 100%. 100%. That is the fact.
So these leelas are there, right? Leelas are there where he protected Parikshit Maharaj, and then Hanuman got that. He had that Ashtasiddhi, Anima, Lagima, where he had to escape from the demonic people, and then he went became smaller of the smallest. So like this, these are all the Lord potency. He's giving the energy to the devotees, and he can still be. You have to accept just because it is small. Then if you are thinking that Lord should not be praised, that is our foolishness.
So we are all becoming.
So you have to come out. You have to come out of that, Prabhu. As simple as that. Okay. Yeah.
Prabhuji, seeing the Lord as smaller than the smallest makes us more cautious, no, Prabhuji? Like we tend to see Him in everything, every particle of dust or also anything that we see around.
Yes.
So that even makes us cautious, more cautious, no, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
100%. Yes, 100%. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah.
Please don't forget to send the 16 samskaras, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thanks.
Yeah. So we'll end the session, Prabhu, because at 11 o'clock.
That's right.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Shall I end the session, Prabhu?